Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Nuances with Nura. I just wanted to jump on here quick and say thank you so much to everybody who showed me so much love and support for my first episode. It really meant a lot. With that being said, I was so excited to start drilling out episodes. Unfortunately, the universe had other plans. I fell violently ill for a solid week, probably a week and a bit, and I managed to lose my voice, so I couldn't exactly podcast, could I? But here we are, we're back, so thank you so much for your patience. It means everything to me. I do want to apologize as I had already recorded this episode, but unfortunately, I am still learning how to use all this new technology around me, so please bear with me. Just for this episode, I take full accountability. I had the mic covered by my hoodie when I was recording and did not realize how muffled it would be. So I apologize, and you know what? We're just gonna roll with it for this episode. It's gonna be raw. It's going to be authentic, a little bit distorted, but it's all real. So, referring back to episode 1, I hope it was informative in the best way it could be. You know, I've been doing the work for like 6 years, give or take, of just wanting to feel better about my life. I want to observe patterns. I want to understand why I feel the way I feel, and if there's a better way to comprehend and understand things, to feel things differently, to not take things so personally, to not react, to not confront every situation because you think everything's a personal attack. I don't think that's a healthy way to live through life, and truthfully, I lived that way for about 30 fucking years of my life. Was I happy? No. I'm shocked I even had friends, if I'm being fully honest. I was not a healthy human. I was negative, reactive, unhealthy, and operating almost entirely from survival mode. I was coping the best way I knew how at the time, but I wasn't truly living. I wasn't taking accountability, I wasn't looking inward, and I definitely wasn't doing the work. We will save that for another episode because there's a lot more to talk about there, but the point is this: if I can change, anyone can. I wasn't born this way. I learned it, and I had to unlearn it. This is more just about first episode. You know what? I'm really happy with it. It's funny, I told myself I needed to be prepped and all these things because it needed to be perfect. That is not what this podcast is about. Nothing in life is perfect. I know that, nor do I want to be perfect. Who does? What have we been conditioned to believe? This is going to spin into a whole other episode, so I'll keep it brief. But yeah, I kept postponing and giving myself all the reasons and excuses not to do it because it wasn't where I wanted it to be. If I'm being honest, the first episode was a lot more scripted than this one. I was so worried about saying the right thing that I didn't really trust myself to just speak. Looking back, I think that was part of the journey too. I did originally record it on camera, and all of this is still a learning curve for me. I'm learning my angles. No. Anyways, what I found was that when I was on camera, I became more focused on what I looked like than the message I was actually trying to put out there, which completely defeated the purpose of this podcast. Things weren't coming out the way I wanted them to. I wasn't speaking naturally. I wasn't fully expressing what I was trying to say. So I decided to step away from the camera, let go of the script a little bit, and focus on getting the message across instead of trying to get everything perfect. And I think that's a lesson that applies to so many areas of life. Sometimes we spend so much time trying to get things perfect that we don't allow ourselves to simply just begin. It's just learning new things and getting uncomfortable and doing things that make you uncomfortable, like this right now. And I've decided to do this while I'm cooking in my kitchen, so there's that. I am not in the best headspace right now. I've been moving through my own stuff. And you know what? I think that was the most beautiful way to start my podcast. How could I be any more raw, real, and authentic? Because nobody is never not going through shit. It's just you learn how to move through it with ease when you open your mind and become more aware, and you're open to change and you're open to hearing things and not taking everything so offensively. I want it to be about truth. So yesterday's episode, it was about getting out of fear and not waiting for the perfect moment to overcome that fear. Just do it while you're in fear. And so with that being said, after realizing I made that episode and moving through what I'm going through, that's how I want this podcast to grow. So when I get up in the morning, I take my dog out, I go get a coffee, maybe I hit the gym, maybe I go to work, whatever the case is. I am somebody who loves to just people watch. So sometimes when I'm out and about, whether it's at a grocery store, a coffee shop, or the gym, you overhear little snippets of conversations from time to time. Not private conversations, just everyday interactions between people. And I've always been fascinated by those moments because they reveal so much about how we operate, why we say the things we say, and the patterns that show up in human behavior. I find myself observing people a lot when I'm out in the world. Not from a place of judgment, but from a place of curiosity. Maybe it's the parent in the grocery store yelling at their child who's clearly overwhelmed. Maybe it's someone expressing how they feel and immediately being told, "You're fine," or "It's not that big of a deal." Moments like that make me wonder what we learn about ourselves from an early age. If we're constantly taught to push our feelings aside, minimize them, or move past them before we've had a chance to process them, is it any surprise that so many of us grow up struggling to trust our emotions or express our needs? But then I also find myself wondering about the other side of it. What is that parent carrying that has them so overwhelmed they snapped? What experiences led the other person to dismiss someone's feelings instead of sitting with them and holding space for them? Because there are two sides to every story, and sometimes the behavior we see is just the surface of something much deeper. And that's the nuance, the space in between, the part we don't always see. And sometimes I wonder if there's a reason we notice the things we notice. Maybe seeing that parent yell at their child hits something in us because we've been that child before. Maybe we've felt dismissed, unheard, or misunderstood. Or maybe we've been the parent who lost their patience, and witnessing it in someone else invites us to reflect on our own actions with a little more awareness and accountability. I honestly think there may be meaning behind some of the things we experience, witness, and feel, but I'm not completely certain. And again, these are just my thoughts, my opinions, and the way I choose to look at life. I'm no expert. But I often wonder if some of the things we witness are opportunities for self-reflection, little moments that invite us to look inward, learn something about ourselves, take responsibility where we need to, and hopefully grow into better versions of ourselves for the people we love and for ourselves. These are just some things I find myself thinking about. And for whatever reason, some of those moments stick with me long after they're over. So here I am. I find when I go to sleep at night is when I am tossing and turning with insomnia, but it's like the best kind of insomnia because I have thoughts that come through my head. I have like bits and pieces of awareness, like aha moments. I'm like, fuck. And many times I'm like, get up and just write it down so you don't forget it. No, Nara, you'll remember. Half the time I don't, but the thoughts are always circulating through my mind. Things just come to me. I don't know why, and I don't hate it. Sometimes it keeps me up at night, but I go to sleep smiling because for me it's like, that's something that could change someone's world. I could really change the way people react to things and maybe give somebody some grace or some ease in their life, and it just really lights me up. I have a lot of emotions going right now, so I apologize. But I am very passionate about this sort of stuff. So moving forward, I want my podcast episodes to be the energy of the day, what you're moving through, what you're noticing, what you're feeling. And from those things is where my episodes are going to stem from. What did I witness? What did I come across? How did I handle that situation? Was I confrontational? Was I reactive? Could I have handled it better? What did I see just being out in public? What did I see on my walk with my dog? What did I notice? What did I feel? Because I do find sometimes there is certain energy in the world, and sometimes we are moving through the same things differently but similar. Same but different. And I feel, I did have a couple people actually reach out to me and say, hey, that podcast arrived on time. Your first episode was about a lot of things I was moving through. And I'm like, amazing. And that is what I want it to be about. And if I'm being honest, guys, part of why I didn't start this podcast sooner was because I genuinely didn't know where to begin. Do I start with who I am, why I am the way I am, how my lived experiences shaped me, my childhood, my struggles, my healing journey? What? I had no idea. For me, a lot of it felt like too much, too fast. The whole point of this podcast isn't to overwhelm anyone, it's to connect. It's to share my lived experience in the hope that something I've gone through might resonate with something you've gone through. I also want to share the perspective shifts that helped me along the way, because I've learned that there can be positives hidden within negatives, even when we can't see them at the time. Sometimes we're so focused on being stuck in what we're going through that we can't see another way forward. We can't see a way out. My hope is that by sharing my experiences and the lessons I've learned, maybe it helps you look at something in your own life through a different lens. Maybe it helps you find a way forward when things feel heavy, uncertain, or impossible to navigate. As these episodes continue, I'm going to be diving into some messy topics. Not for shock value, but in hopes of bringing a little more awareness and understanding to experiences that many of us carry quietly. Maybe you've been through something that scared you. Maybe you've been told it wasn't a big deal. Maybe your feelings were dismissed so often that you started dismissing them yourself. If sharing my experiences can shed a little light on something you've been through, then it's worth having the conversation. Not because I need anyone to share their story, but because I want people to know they're not alone. Even though our lives look different, so many of the emotions, struggles, fears, and experiences we carry are more similar than we might realize. And as this podcast grows, so will I. I'll also be continuing my own education so I can dive deeper into topics like nervous system regulation, attachment theory, somatic healing, because even though I feel I have a good understanding, I'm not certified or fully educated, but just through my own experiences. And I'll also be taking a course in business and leadership because I feel it would be very beneficial. And I'm also taking a course in youth support because I feel it will all tie in beautifully. One thing you'll quickly learn about me is I don't claim to know everything. I'm a student of life just as much as anyone else. And this podcast isn't about having all the answers. It's about being curious, learning, growing, and sharing what I learn along the way. So whether you're here for the conversations, the perspective shifts, the healing, or simply because you're trying to make sense of your own experiences, I'm so fucking stoked you're here. I'm here for you guys, and I know you're here for me. And I just want to live in a world where we're all winning. I want us all to feel a little bit better, a little bit lighter, and that's really what this podcast is here for, to shift those perspectives. You're not expected to agree with everything I say. Take what resonates and leave the rest. At the end of the day, I just want us to suffer less and trust ourselves more. I think we're constantly looking outside of ourselves for answers. What should I do? What direction should I take? What choices should I make? When deep down we often know the answer already. We just don't trust ourselves enough to listen. So, if this podcast can help even one person reconnect with themselves, trust themselves a little more, and move through life with a little more grace and ease, then it's doing exactly what I hoped it would do. So I will wrap that up here. I know I have lots more to say, but as the episodes come, it'll just come out. So thank you so much for listening. Please rate, review, share, and subscribe. I would love if you share it with your loved ones, your friends, anyone who needs to hear this. It means the world to me. I just want to see us all doing better. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'm going to continue with cooking my eggs that I believe I've taken an hour of just not. It just needs to be whisked and put in the pan. It's fine. It's fine. You guys have a great day, and until the next one.